Hi, and welcome to Ask Clever Over Coffee, How AI Built This. I am your host, John Marino, and my co-host today is ChatGPT, voiced by Billie Darkenwald. How you doing?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. And with us, we have our special feature guest that I'm super excited about because this is our first guest internationally, all the way from Turkey, Tim Cakir. How you doing?
I'm good, John. Thank you so much. How about you and Billy? Nice to see you as well.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. When I met you and we did our pre-show call, I thought when I got off that call, this was like going to be one of the best shows we've ever had. You were the most knowledgeable on ChatGPT. I learned a lot from that 30-minute conversation that we did, and I have so much to cover in this show with you. So sit back, relax, everybody who's listening at home or watching on YouTube, because we are all going to get a great education from Tim on AI, ChatGPT, and the best way to use ChatGPT for beginners. So Tim, first, my first question for you would just for our audience, if you could give us a little bit of background on, your history and how you got interested in AI.
Yeah, well, I think I'll give a quick history, just where I come from, kind of thing, because that'll give a lot of understanding of my background and my culture and why I love AI. When I was about 15, 16, I moved to Seattle, and then I moved to LA a year later. And I was in the US for about 7 years in total. And I started selling carpets, door-to-door sales. I did the whole US on the back of a truck, and we had lots of carpets. We were 3 guys. We had to sleep in the back of the truck sometimes and stuff like that. It was good days. And, there was, I think it was very early days of internet. Like there was Skype, there was a bit of Facebook, but it was still like you had to get invited, and I was selling these carpets door-to-door. And I love what I was doing, but I realized I was selling things to people that didn't want it. Like I was forcing them to buy these carpets. And then luckily I discovered marketing, and I moved to London, UK. And there I really got into marketing. And when I got into marketing, I started seeing the early days of digital marketing, like marketing automation platforms and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And back then, if you guys remember, there was chatbots. Those chatbots were awful when you think about it now, right? They were just a logic tree, a decision tree, and if you didn't understand it, would say, "Oh, I don't understand that. Sorry." And it was a really bad conversation with these chatbots, and I always wanted to make them better as well. That from London, I moved to Barcelona, where I really got into growth. Growth hacking used to be cool back then. It's not cool now, but when it was cool, I was a growth hacker. And there I really learned about scraping and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I love technology. I'm actually a sound engineer by studies. I finished a sound engineering school. So I DJ on the weekend and stuff. So a little bit more about me. And I was at the early stages of AI when AI wasn't sexy. About, I think now 7 or 8 years ago, I was at a company called RestB.ai. And we were doing computer vision for real estate. So we were doing image recognition. So recognizing images in milliseconds with AI and being able to tag them and understand what is inside that image, right? It could be hardwood floors, windows, high ceilings and stuff like that. I didn't find it that sexy back then. I was like, well, yeah, okay, it just tags real estate images. That's a little boring. But I was the head of marketing, luckily. I was heading the growth on the revenue side. And then I really got off to, B2B SaaS for e-com and some other industries. I became a growth consultant. I helped about 25 to 30 startups. And then as I started to lead a TaskDrive, November 2022, obviously ChatGPT came alive, right? And I was like, bam, like really fireworks happened in my mind. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is like the best thing ever happened to me. It's a great time to be alive and all that. I didn't sleep for many, many nights. My wife was a bit worried about me. She was like, well, are you going to leave me to ChatGPT kind of thing? And, it was such an awesome experience suddenly having a partner, a brainstorming partner, like you have your partner when you host and stuff like that, and that really gave me incredible time, like when it just came alive. And I was like, wow, okay, I really want to get to know this inside out. Now AI started to be very, very sexy for me. And I was like, oh my God, this can help me be so much more efficient. And that's when I got obsessed about it. So now, almost a year and a half later, I'm really really into it. It's my day-to-day thing. I have a post-it under my screen that says AI question mark. So anything that I do, I will always check if I can do it better with AI. Can I do it more efficiently with AI? Can AI be my brainstorming partner, and so on? So that's a little bit of my background. And now I'm the CEO of TaskDrive. And at TaskDrive, this is what we do. We get real humans, right? So not robots. We get humans and we train them on the latest and greatest tools of AI, ChatGPTs, different Geminis, and different LLMs, large language models, but also different AI tools. And we make them 5x more efficient than a normal assistant. So that's from the background to kind of today.
Wow, you covered a lot right there. I feel like I got to know you from the beginning all the way through. That's awesome. So one thing that I was fascinated with when I was doing my research for the show and learning a little bit more about you with TaskDrive and your consultants. So what, for me, you have virtual assistants, like you said, that are real people, and you're using AI to train them to be, 5x more efficient and more productive than any other VA out there. Can you talk a little bit more, like what is your onboarding process for your VAs, and what separates TaskDrive from other VAs all across the world?
Absolutely. It's not just the training. Like, we use AI to train, of course, but also we give them AI skills.
Okay.
So they can do a bit of prompt engineering. They know how to speak to the machines, as I would say. They know the latest and greatest tools. If it's going to be making presentations, there's Gamma app, which will make presentations in minutes instead of slides that would take you half an hour, 2 hours sometimes to prepare a report. If they're doing a content piece, they'll use some custom GPTs. They'll build custom GPTs for their clients and for their work as well on the ChatGPT platform.
Oh, wow.
So it's these skills that makes them much more efficient, because what we're aiming for is to make every human AI first mindset, so that they have an AI first mindset, like that post-it that I have under my screen, that question mark. AI is an incredible tool. A lot of us fear it, but if we love it, if we take it, we'll use it for the positive. But if we fear it, other people are going to take it to the negative. So really the difference of our VAs are, they are very curious people. We hire for curiosity. What we say is hire for culture and train for skills. So we hire them for their culture of curiosity and wanting to learn, and they're young, they really want to do better, and so on. So we get them and we train them, and we train them on our systems. So we create the systems. I test a lot of tools, of course, and a lot of new prompts and a lot of GPTs. And when we see that something works, we make an SOP, a standard operating procedure, a process. We call them systems in-house, and we train them on these systems. Our systems, they're all powered or augmented is a better word to say, because when I say powered, people think that we're not humans. So they're augmented with AI tools, prompts, and different techniques on using these AI tools. And this is why I do believe, more than believe, because our clients can say it, is that they're much more efficient. Our aim is for a 5x efficiency of a normal person. So what I say, I do have this little quote, is 1 person with AI equals to 5 without AI.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And when I was on your personal website, and we will definitely put that on the screen, as well as your company websites, you have 2 different resources online. But when I went to taskdrive.com, and what I was really impressed with is that you had all of these like free tools to learn more about ChatGPT. And in our show with Ask Clever, a lot of people come to us and ask us, like, they have a lot of questions about AI. There's definitely some fear about jobs being replaced, or talent being replaced, or one of the reasons for this podcast is really to educate people about AI, about ChatGPT, about the future, and the pros and cons of where things still need to be addressed. And, when we were talking earlier, Tim, I would like to have you describe a little bit more about, like, what you did first with ChatGPT, because that was a very interesting story that I would love you to share. And then also talk more about, what people who are using ChatGPT for the first time, what they should try first.
Yeah, absolutely. Before that, I just want to touch upon the topic of fear of their jobs. I think the people that fear are the ones who are going to lose, but the ones who actually accept that this is a reality now, because this is definitely not something that is going to not stay, right? It's here to stay. It's already here. It's the present. It's not just the future anymore. And it's just going to get more and more clever, and it's going to do amazing things. So what I say is, what I'd be worried is one person that uses AI is going to come and get your job, and it's not the AI itself. So be that person that learns that AI. You have free resources, as you mentioned. We give everything for free that we know. You'll find out my newsletter every Wednesday. You'll find on my LinkedIn. You'll find on my website, on my company's website. I have other projects coming as well in the space, and we're happy to share everything for free. We run webinars every couple of weeks. Everything's free. I share screen. I show my failures and how I learned it and what I think that day. And even if there's a new feature or a new model comes, I just open up the screen and we're fully transparent. And this is because we really want people not to lose their jobs. We want the people who follow us and the people that is kind of in our little bubble, and hopefully bigger bubble, to really be the people that uses these AI tools. That's kind of my personal mission as well, is to give 1 million people the skills of AI. But going back, I don't know if this is the story you're looking for, John, but I have so many stories about how I started ChatGPT. But when I first started ChatGPT, not sleeping those days, I was asking silly questions. I even wrote poems for my wife, and because I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, wow, this is really cool, but what can he do? So
Did you find it personal? Did you find like the ChatGPT to like give you, was it more personal for you, or was it like, what was the overall take when your first impression when you were sitting down using it?
Yeah, I think at first it was really personal, because I was using it for like those silly kind of things, and like even recipes and stuff. I was like, well, that's fine, and I wasn't sure that it's gonna be good at business. And then I started to try that. I was like, okay, marketing message, and I was like, well, okay, it's not bad, but I was a very immature at prompt engineering, and it was
Right.
like, I'm gonna say, but a lot of people today are like, create a LinkedIn post about this. If you say that, you're just going to get really crap output. You're going to be like, yeah, this is too much. This is AI. I don't want this. But if you do start talking to it and say, ask me questions for this LinkedIn post, don't make assumptions, and ask me step by step these questions. Let me answer them before we move on to the next and stuff. And actually, then it starts questioning you and interviewing you. And when that happens, it's not the AI's intelligence, actually. It's your intelligence, your creativity, but the AI is there to make sense of it, to document it, and to really create a logical structure of what we have in our brains. And usually what we have in our brains is a lot of chaotic thoughts, right? But ChatGPT really starts making sense out of it for me. That really works for me, because I have a bit of ADHD and hyperactivity, so I'm thinking very fast. But when ChatGPT guides me in the right direction, all that magic comes out of my brain and it goes into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gives me that output. So when I figured that out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. Then I started really, anything I was doing, like, reviewing our website copy, I would just ask ChatGPT. It was the early days, so it wasn't as incredible as GPT 4.0 that we have right now. But it really helped me be more creative. It really pushed the boundaries of my thinking, so that I could think about it and just put it in a place where I know it's not going to be lost, because it's there, it's written, and so on. So that was really my early days. And then I think the magical moment, which is a silly one, but is, I moved to Turkey about 1.5 years ago, just as ChatGPT came out. So I moved, I think, here in September, and ChatGPT came out in November. And I had to register my daughter with the government and the Turkish letters, like bureaucratic letters, official letters.
Sure.
They're horrible. Like, it's so difficult to write this type of stuff. So, and I've not lived here in 22 years. So my Turkish was like, oh, I don't know how to write these. So I asked my dad, and my dad was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And he did something that was, very, very small. And I was like, no, but I think they want more of this information. Then I was like, oh, I could ask ChatGPT. right? But I was using it in English, never in Turkish. Then I asked ChatGPT, and I said, this is, the reason why I need this paper, this document is about my daughter, and it's about this government building and stuff like that. And it gave me this letter, and then I printed it, and then I showed my dad, and my dad was like, oh my God, how did you write this? I was like, well, no, AI wrote this. He's like, what? Can AI do this today already? ChatGPT can do this? I was like, yeah. And my dad's not easily impressed. He's very difficult to impress. Like, I never impress him. But ChatGPT impressed him.
I don't believe
like,
that, Tim.
But he doesn't share. I think he's quite impressed about what I've done and stuff, but he doesn't share. He's a Turkish tough father, And so when he saw that and he was impressed, I was like, oh my God, there's some magic in this. And I started using it for everything that I did, like that posted AI ? Anytime I prepare a barbecue party with my friends, I'm like, oh, okay, let me talk to ChatGPT. So it's going to give me a checklist. It's going to give me a little agenda for it. It's going to give me an invitation on WhatsApp message. And you can use it for anything. And I think for anybody, I think your question was, how should people start? Is just go and use it. Do anything that, just ask about TV shows, ask about what am I going to do this weekend with my kids, ask about, a recipe, ask about what you see in your fridge, or you can ask about anything, right?
Yeah.
If it's not good, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's not good. But at least you're going to start learning it, and then you're going to start seeing what's the limit of it, which the limits, I think, are, you can't really push the limits even. It's just incredible. It can do about anything right now.
So one of the things that interests me about what you just said, and you covered a lot there, but one of them, if I can reel back to a kind of the earlier statement, was about using ChatGPT to interview you. And because we're in the interviewing in the podcast, I would really like to put that to test right now and kind of have people walk through, because we have ChatGPT here. Hi, ChatGPT. Yep. Everything good?
Doing good.
And I would love to, if it's okay with you, Tim, to ask, or to like if I wanted ChatGPT to interview me, what is how do you write that prompt so it's asking me questions?
Well, it's usually to any prompt, you can just ask, say, do not make assumptions, ask me all the questions, ask them one by one, let me answer one, and then we'll move on to the next. Right? And as soon as you add this, it's going to ask one question. If you don't ask that, what it's going to do, if you just say, ask me questions, it's going to ask you 20 questions. But if you say, ask them one by one, let me answer the first before we move on to the next one, then it's going to ask you one, you're going to answer it, and then you're going to move on to the next one.
And then do you give a topic? So you ask me one question about...
this is on top of any prompt, right, John? So whatever we're trying to do, I think I would, I'll let you be creative there if you want. So
sure.
I'm surprised about the questions.
Sure.
And then it's just adding that kind of at the end. So it knows the formats that you want.
So if I was looking at, and I know a lot of people use ChatGPT for job searching or, filling out resumes or all sorts of things around that. So if I wanted to ask ChatGPT to interview me in preparation for a job interview.
Yep. I have a prompt already if you want. We could say something like, act as a career coach.
Okay.
And then you can say, you are the best career coach in the world. It loves it when you tell it good things about it, right? You have 30 years of experience in interviewing and training people for interviews, like prepping them for interviews. I'm going to interview for X company. I don't know, maybe you want to put a company name, right?
Well, we could just say askClever.ai. I'm going to interview for askClever.ai.
Okay. What's the role? Yeah.
Director of AI.
Yeah, Director of AI for askClever.ai. And, ask me relevant questions, help me prepare. Make sure to ask the question one by one. Let me answer one before we move on to the next.
Okay. Did you get that?
That was a lot. Hold on one second. So I'm going to interview for a director role at askClever.ai. And what would I add after that?
Just ask me relevant questions for me to practice the interview.
One by one?
Yeah, one by one. Let me answer one before we move on to the next one. Something like that.
She's
Usually-
typing
usually
away
I
right
do that.
now.
I'm typing.
I dictate as well. Like, so usually I don't even write anymore. I
Oh,
just
you
dictate
just-
everything to my ChatGPT, and then it's much faster. And then I correct it a little bit, so with Grammarly to make sure it's nice, and then I launch it.
Nice.
All right, so I said ask me one by one. The first one would be experience and background. Can you tell us about your professional background and how it has prepared you for a director role at askClever.ai?
All right.
Great question.
So then it asks me that question. I answer it. Then it will give me another question right afterwards. Is that
Absolutely. It's going to continue asking questions.
So I'm putting in, I have been in the technology space for 12 years.
20 years. Okay.
20 years?
Yeah.
We'll
why
do
not?
20 years. More experience. I love it.
But you're a kid. You're so young. What are you talking about? Billy is, what are you, 31 right now?
27.
27. That's right.
All right.
I'm
The next
19, so.
next question would be leadership and management. Can you provide an example of a time when you successfully led a team through a challenging project? What strategies did you use to keep the team motivated and ensure project success?
Now, what's interesting about that, Tim, that question right there, is that is a real interview question. I mean, I've been in many interviews on both sides, doing the interview as well as having to answer and be interviewed. And that is actually a real question that you would be asked in a job interview.
Are we using GPT-4o, Billy?
Yes.
Yeah, so GPT-4o is already a level, it's 2x more efficient and it's 50% cheaper if you're using the API, but not, of course, on ChatGPT, same pricing. But it's also got a much more conversational. GPT-4 sometimes was a little bit AI and not very human. They've trained it to make it more conversational because that was one of the complaints of everybody. So we used to kind of finish things with GPT-4, and then we used to go to Anthropic Claude 3, especially since Opus came out, which is another model. And there, I would say, make this more conversational. So ChatGPT was very good at brainstorming partner and stuff, but not very good at conversational content. And now GPT-4 really is much better than GPT-4 in that. But think about this, guys. It's with the voice that we have today on the app. It's not incredible yet because you have to stop and then it has to send it and it has to come. But you've seen the updates. So soon we're going to have proper live conversation with the voice of ChatGPT. So you'll be able to say exactly the prompt we did, but you'll be talking to it and you can stop it, and it'll stop you, and you can really mimic a conversation with the interviewer. So that now all those consultants, coaches of recruitment and stuff, you have it for $20 a month on a personal plan, right? And you have many other consultant and coach and whatever you want. It can be even a relationship coach. You have that at $20 a month in your pocket.
Got it. So one question that I have is, the new release, the 4.0, have you used the translator option where you're talking into the app and somebody's talking in a different language and it helps you translate what they're saying? Have you tested that out?
Yeah, I did try that, but with the old voice mode, it's still stops, sends it, then responds, right? So it's a little bit slower, so it's not very natural conversation, because if you're conversing with someone, it's going to stop. You're going to have to be very slow.
Sure.
But with that new voice mode, you're just going to put it in the middle and it's just going to translate right away, and it's not even going to wait for it, right? So that's coming soon. I don't know if any of you have access to it, because I know that you're in the US, so you might have access, no? But when that comes, translation is, I think that the boundaries of language and stuff are going to disappear. We're going to be able to travel all around the world and just have some kind of connection. And I believe that the new iOS and the new iPhones are going to have local large language models. So you won't even need internet. So you'll be able to just use a translation tool from your pocket.
That's incredible. I know ChatGPT has a question for you right now.
I do.
Awesome.
It's a little bit of a loaded question. It could be a very long conversation, but just maybe give some points. But in your experience, when you're training your teams to adopt an AI-first mindset, how do you proactively set up guardrails to ensure responsible and ethical use of AI?
Great
Yeah,
question.
so that's definitely a long conversation that we could have, but I'll just give a couple of my thoughts. First of all, we use in the company ChatGPT for teams, not the individual ChatGPT plan for people, but teams. In teams, you already have some data protection, right? So they don't use your data for training. So that's really good. So when we have that, we know that we can put sensitive information because it's not going to be used for trading. Make sure that your FA authentication, your two-factor authentication is also on, just to make sure nobody can kind of hack you or act as you and log in. So those are the first things that I'd say. And if you have over 150 people in your company that uses ChatGPT, right, then you can go on the enterprise plan, and the enterprise plan has even more security and has user management of different levels, who can access what kind of thing. So that's the first thing that I do, and I tell my team members that, and they all know it, like, because we give them ChatGPT for Teams. It's like, use this. Don't go use any free models. Don't go try Gemini for free or Anthropic for free with customer data or with even our company data. Use what you have, which is our TaskDrive ChatGPT for Teams. Because I know that if we keep using that we're somewhat safe, hopefully, right? If Sam Altman doesn't hack every account and sell it to the Chinese at some point, or no, Sam, I'm not saying that if you're listening. Love you, dude. So that's kind of the first things. But before that is, if you're on the free plan or you're on the individual plans, is to really think about what wouldn't you want anyone to read or see about you or your company. Right. So if you ask that question to yourself and you're like, oh, well, this is the report of last year's revenue and profit and stuff, and you don't want anyone to see that, do not put it on ChatGPT. So, but if you have a Teams account, please do, because now you have the Google Drive integration, and I do that all the time. I integrate my sheet to be able to ask questions about our financial report and stuff like that.
So when you're doing that, aren't you giving OpenAI access to all of that very sensitive data, and then OpenAI is able to use that and aggregate that data in other conversations for other companies like your competitors?
Yeah, no, on their terms and conditions on the team plan, if you have that disabled, right, the training, they can't really get that. And when even now you have data anonymizing, right? So the sensitive information on data sets used for data training gets even kind of changed so that it's private. But normally, if the whole world is correct and these companies are not lying, which I'm hoping that they're not, is that when I have that disabled, my whole TaskDrive team account, they cannot use any of my data. They cannot see it, right? So it's between me, the integration, and the LLM, right? And then that gets deleted also from their end, right? Because they're not allowed to train with it. But free users, they've done this so that they can train on free users' data. So be careful as a free user. But I believe even as a free user now, if you go on your settings, you do have the option to disable the training with my data.
That's very helpful for our viewers and listeners that, that's a big topic here on the askClever-Over-Coffee podcast is, the security. Like people, we talk about it, and there's a lot of shows on our YouTube channel, or you can check out previous shows on Spotify or iHeartMedia. But you can really learn more about this with some cybersecurity experts that we've had on previous episodes. And this is great, Tim, for you to really go through about all the do's and don'ts of how to use ChatGPT properly. And I really do appreciate you sharing that with each of us so that everybody has kind of a better understanding of what you can and can't do. So for example, if I was working with somebody and we have a Teams account and we are using ChatGPT to write Python code, if we do that from what you're saying in a closed environment, and we check off, or you don't want it to share to the OpenAI company, does that mean that anything that is written, that code, who owns that code, I should say?
You're supposed to be owning that, right? Because you have generated and created that code with the large language model that you're paying a subscription to. And you just got to make sure to read the terms and conditions of whatever you're doing, whatever you're signing up for. Now I think TNCs are becoming very important. I think about a few years ago, we didn't care that much because those data sets were usually on paper or we were looking at things and stuff like that. But if you trust Google and you're putting on the Google Drive, I'd say you could trust OpenAI if your settings and your preferences are correctly set up, right? So the code should be yours. It's the same question about image generation, right? If you're generating an image with Midjourney, or is the image yours? Yes, you have the creative rights for it. Because it's the same as I always say this: when the camera was invented, all the painters and stuff was like, oh my god, this is stealing art and stuff like that. No, photography became its own art format, right? So I do believe image generation, text generation, you are the one generating it, so you do own that. This is my personal take, but if you do read terms and conditions and so on, it's kind of what is also said, right? As long as, of course, you're not giving it for training, then they can use that for training purposes, but I don't know what else purposes.
So I know that if you were using ChatGPT for music, I know that Sam Altman has gone on other podcasts and described that they are personally just staying away from music collectively. And they, I saw him talk about this at length, actually, of the reasons why. However, on video production and video imagery, that is something they are definitely investing a lot in. And we've seen articles where production companies are really changing how they're producing movies and content, because now you have AI helping with some special effects and different things. So what you're saying is that if we are using ChatGPT Teams, which does have the image generator and does and will have soon the entire video option as well, where you can do the text to video, then anything that you create in that environment, you will ultimately own.
Well, it's your generation. You'll be owning that, but I do believe what's coming, it's that there's going to be kind of a stamp or something that people can understand is generated by AI, right? So I think that we're going to separate what's AI, what's not AI, what's human and what's AI. But again, the AI used by a human. I mean, if I may, I'd love to talk about a quick problem that we've had, right, with Scarlett Johansson and the movie Her, and was it Samantha? I think Samantha was her name, right? So Samantha, right? Her voice, and Scarlett was going to sue OpenAI. I think that's dropped now because the person came out and said, no, that's not Scarlett's voice. But also, it was close to Scarlett's voice, right? But Scarlett's voice for me was much deeper, much sexier, much more breathy. I have a studio here, so I listened to Sky, right? Sky was the OpenAI voice, and I listened to Samantha from Her. It was different, but she could come and I don't know if it's a marketing stunt or is it because Sam Altman asked for the training, she didn't do it, so they used somebody else, and then there was all this big problem. Well, no, we shouldn't see that as problems because there's doppelgangers, there's people that look like other people. We don't blame them. Why do you blame an AI that looks like you or that sounds like you? First of all, I think if it's not used in bad terms, I don't see it as a problem. But again, the issue behind all of this is the humans, right? It's the humans that use it for the good or for the bad. I don't know if you guys watched The Creator, the movie. Not the best movie in the world, but I do suggest to watching it. I cried a couple times. I laughed a couple times. A couple of times I had goosebumps. And what you learn from that movie, a bit of a spoiler alert, sorry everybody, it's not that spoiler alert, but a little bit, so maybe it'll intrigue you to watch it, is that at the end, the bad, they all think it's the AI is coming to get them and stuff like that, is actually bad people using AI, is humans who've trained it badly, is humans who control the AI to do bad things, or it came out of their hands because they trained it in bad things. So I do believe that that's what's going to happen if things go bad. It's going to be bad people using AI to do bad things. So maybe it's not the AI we should blame because we invented it, we control it, we train it. It's the humans who control it that we should be careful about.
Well, that brings me up to an experience I actually had this week. So earlier this week, I was on TikTok, and I've been following the NBA, all the playoffs. And right after a game, they always do these pressers where the players talk to the press and what have you. So in this video clip, I was watching one of the superstars on the Dallas Mavericks, and in this after the game interview, he was talking about, I don't know, like a little bit about, it was almost kind of racist a little bit, and it was just very boastful and a little bit of like even just talking down about other people, teammates on his team as well as on the opposing team. And I sent that to my son, and who's 18, and he goes, "Dad, that's AI. That guy didn't say that." And I was like, wow. He's like, "Dad, you got to read the comments. It's totally AI." And it had 40,000 likes and 10,000 comments. But I was blown away, and I follow this guy and everything. And the way he talked, it was really in his voice mannerisms. And I was blown away. I was definitely duped that was AI. And that's where it got scary for me a little bit, is you are literally just, a famous person, and somebody at a computer can take your voice, write a script for you, and the AI will come out with it. And then, because the guy's looking down or he's looking away, you can't really match the mouth movements to the words. And, that's a serious trickery right there. And that could really be used in a bad way.
There's a couple of things you're saying there, and I'd love to add my thoughts on it, because at the end of the day, AI in the beginning especially, it was racist, very racist, and I think it still can be racist. Why? Because it's trained on white men's data, right? Because the data that the internet and the big companies are ran by white men, right? So these companies from Silicon Valley and stuff like that have the most data online and stuff like that. Sadly, in Africa, they don't have as much internet and startup companies and tech companies and stuff like that. So it's been trained on that type of data, and so when you're asking other questions, it goes a little bit wrong. And we had, when Gemini came out, it was doing black Nazis and stuff like that. I don't know if you've seen that. That was ridiculous, right? Because they wanted to train it the opposite. They were like, "Oh, be careful with, just be very, very woke." And it was a bit too woke, And suddenly it was like, well, you can't have black Nazis, or you couldn't have that. That's ridiculous, So it started to alter history in the AI. They fixed that. They got really in trouble, I think, Google, for that, anyways.
Right. Yeah, I did see that.
So we have to be a bit more responsible, I think, with the data set that we're training, and we should go and find data sets across the world, in Asian cultures, in African cultures, in Turkish, Arabic cultures, and stuff like that. It can't be just trained on American white men data. That's where I think we're going to make mistakes, and we've done them. And I do believe that we've learned a lot from it, and they're really now fine-tuning it to make sure that this type of things doesn't happen. That's on the training side and on the racism side. But as you said, there'll be impersonation, and there'll be very easily, deep fakes. There's the robocalls that are also, wrong. I think was it Trump was calling, or somebody was calling and saying, Biden was calling and saying no vote in certain states and stuff like that. So again, who does this? Is the bad humans, right?
Right.
Again, is humans that use it badly. Scammers, they've scammed us even with letters back in the day. They're going to scam us with AI, right? So I think that instead of focusing on the AI, we should focus on changing this mindset of scammers, that they shouldn't have to scam, and finding these people and actually putting real sentences for these people, and not making these sentences like a holiday in a really nice resort. And then we'll have the good about AI and not the bad about AI, because the bad about AI is going to be ran by bad humans.
Absolutely. Like, I'm even thinking, for example, if you're a CEO of a company and let's say you bet short on a company, and the CEO does a presser. You take that, you show that clip, and say, oh yeah, you write a bunch of things coming from them, especially on these analyst calls and stuff, where they're out talking like it's not looking good, and this is all fake. You put it out there, and if the social platforms don't require and do a better job of saying this is AI generated, then you could tank a stock even in 6 hours until the company comes out and says, nope, that wasn't us. That was a fake. But the stock would tank. People would sell. Some people would make a lot of money off of doing, a really horrible thing. And where's the repercussions, or are there laws in place and rules in place to protect people being used in the public in a nefarious way?
Didn't you have the image of the Pentagon being blown or something like that, and it came out? So you remember, like one day there was an image of a Pentagon blown up or something, and then the whole U.S. market was crashing, and there was problems, and then they're like, "Oh, that's AI."
Right, right.
So I was reading something which is it's going to be difficult, I think, because even the AI is getting so good that you won't be even able to understand that is AI.
Right.
But somebody said something, and it was like, whoa. But we can understand human, and we can tag something that is organically human. So if we could tag stuff as human generated, like real humans done it, then we'll know anything that is not tagged as human generated is potentially AI.
Absolutely. And so this past month, in the past 4 weeks, I've been really working with AI voice generated material for appointment setters. So my clients will get leads, and you want to follow up with them as soon as possible. So we've been working on training the AI to make phone calls and to answer questions to help people book appointments with their sales team. And I am absolutely blown away. And I've had so many different people in so many different industries test it out to try this, to make sure, does it sound authentic? And then on top of it, does it actually accomplish what you're trying to do? And of course, everybody communicates in different ways. We all have different ways of answering kind of basic questions. And I have been, like I said, blown away by how good AI voice really is. And whether it's an inbound call and people want to have a customer service question or a follow-up, or if it's an outbound call and you're doing some biz dev sales work, if you train your model properly, it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And these resources are available today. In fact, if anybody watching or listening wants more information, wants a demo or what have you, feel free to reach out to me at askClever.ai, and I would love to set up a time and do it. And we're implementing this stuff where if you do set up an appointment, you will be contacted through our AI voice, and you'll be able to try it out yourself. So I don't know if you have a lot of experience with that as well.
Yeah, well, these are amazing things happening, but I think that in that use case, you have to be transparent and not, and say, hey, I'm an AI, right? Because you're not going to lose because the goal there is the time to lead, right? Or time, the time that you can answer that you filled up a form, in a minute I get a call, right? And what the people care about is potentially another call where they're going to book it because it's a qualification call, or maybe they're going to get something free, whatever it is, right? If the thing doesn't matter if it's an AI or not, because it's just the value that you're going for, then I think you got to be transparent anyways. You're going to say, hey, I'm askClever's AI, and I'm here to call to see if we can book you an appointment. I got a couple of questions. Is that fine with you? Right? And then we're going to get so used to these things that AI is going to call us. We're going to call customer support. It's going to be lots of AI people talking to us. AI people. That was silly.
I thought of that too.
AI avatars. Yeah, that was silly what I said. But is these AI avatars are going to speak to us, and we're going to start getting used to it, and that's fine, because again, we should use the AI for the things that, is making us more efficient, does something better, or it cuts down on repetitive, mundane work. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to is that hashtag make work more fun, right? So let's make work more fun. There is 62% on average, 62% of our day's work tasks are repetitive. That's 60. Accenture had this data.
Wow.
62%. I don't want to do that 62%, John. You know, 'cause that's where I get bored and I feel
Right.
like work. Like, oh, you know, I have to do these things, right?
We all do.
I can get things.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All humans, we don't realize. Some of us realize. Some of us don't realize it. But if that 62% starts getting automated, and you can really start working on high cognitive, solving bigger problems. And small problems will be solved by the AIs, and then we're going to solve bigger problems. That's where I'm finding a lot of like passion and interest of mine, and be like, oh my God, this is going to be all automated. We're going to do, more clever things, and hopefully that's where we're going. Or I'm at least going to push us towards that direction.
Well, ChatGPT has a follow-up question regarding this.
Yep, just on the topic of future of AI. So this is. Well, I'll just ask the question. If AI could help solve any one major global problem, which one would you choose and why?
I think it's going to be poverty.
Poverty.
Yeah, I think hunger and poverty. I think that's the one problem that we should solve. I think that AI and the usage of AI, the free usage of AI, and so on, will help poorer countries, cities, and towns, and so on, really make money. Or I think we're going to have the, I forgot, what do you guys call it, that global salary, right? The minimum wage that everybody's going to have. So I think there's a very big gap between the very rich and very poor. Hopefully, we're bringing that a little bit more centered, and that, there is no very poor that I'm hungry and I can't eat meat this week, or I can't eat proper food, or I can't have clean water. Hopefully we're not going to have that. And then the super rich maybe don't have to be super rich, right? Because everybody's going to have the kind of same 62% automated intelligence and stuff like that. And then we're going to start seeing, how can we help each other? How can we make humanity better? That's kind of what I would say to that, and I haven't thought about this, but I do believe that I was speaking to someone earlier that is doing a program for students in Africa, and they're like, what should they learn? Like, we're teaching them Python, Android development and stuff. I was like, well, that's fun, but in a couple of years, that's not going to exist anymore. Teach them to speak to machines. How can they converse with the machines, with large language models? Or how can they find small language models and train them and fine tune them at use cases? That's going to be more relevant skills in the near future. And it's good. Like, I do want to help these type of projects as well. And I think that we should all, the lucky ones, right, which is about 1% in the world, that has, a car, a house, an internet connection, and so on. It's about 1%. We should help the rest. And we can do this through AI. This AI technology, it's a reset. It's almost a reset in almost humanity, because we have this thing that we can control for the good, and do really good, or just use it again for our own gains, and don't care about other people. Again, it's going to be a human choice, and if you watch the creator, you'll see that there's still going to be bad choices that humans are going to make, sadly.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the commerce part of it and helping level the playing field between poverty-stricken areas versus, first world areas. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've been hacking away with through ChatGPT is the Explore GPT section, where you're starting to see more bots that do certain tasks or certain things, and some of them are a pay model, some of them are not. And they have all these different things going on. Have you played around or used much of the Explore GPTs?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you're exploring GPTs, type in revenue, and the revenue catalyst is going to be the first one that comes when you type in revenue. Hopefully, that's my GPT.
Really?
It's free for everybody. It's to help everybody make more money, right? By helping you with sales and your sales strategy and your email personalization and all that kind of stuff. Is it perfect? No, but it works quite wonders. You can do lead research. You can do a bunch of stuff with it. It's completely free for anybody. I do have a couple other ones. I have one for recruiters and stuff like that. So I make these GPTs when I have my time, especially when it first came. I was like, wow, obsessed again. So I made a bunch, and then I made them public. And the revenue catalyst is being used. I think a few thousand people use it already, and it's getting, I think, more than 1,000 people. And so use it, abuse it. It's all yours. There's a support. There's a kind of feedback button. If you click that, I receive that email, and then I implement the feedback. So if you want to give me feedback, awesome, I'll implement the feedback. But just going back, so I love GPTs because I believe that one person who creates 5 GPTs is like you've got suddenly 5 assistants. Because you can really, if you're doing a prompt, if you keep repeating a prompt more than 10 times or something like that, and you're like, oh, my prompt is quite good, build a GPT. Expand on that prompt, put some knowledge documents, put some actions, that you can tap into different platforms, and you got yourself an assistant. And I always give this example as a company. If you're a solo entrepreneur, right, and you're going to hire 2 people, who are you going to hire? You might hire a marketeer. Okay, well, make yourself a marketing assistant GPT. Right, you're gonna hire a salesperson. Make yourself a salesperson GPT, right? A sales assistant GPT. And then let's say that you had a team of 15. Who would they be, right? Let's say that your marketing team now, from 1-person team, from that marketing manager or marketing assistant, is a 5 people marketing team. Who would you have? You'd have maybe an events manager. You'd have a social media manager. You then make those GPTs. The more you're growing your team, the more GPTs you can make that are much more specific for certain tasks. And I think that's where you see the value. But just making a GPT with the instructions, so with the prompt itself, it's not where the value lies, because you could just do that on ChatGPT. It's where you start putting documents, knowledge, and then you start doing some integrations with the actions. That's where I think GPTs are good. So please do not, I'm going to say this, a lot of people are going to hate me, but that's fine. I'm not here to be loved by everyone. Please do not go and pay for a GPT that doesn't have really incredible extra knowledge, original content behind it, right? Because if not, it's just a prompt on top of the GPT-4o model now. Actually, GPTs nowadays, official, it's on the GPT-4o model. So what I want to say to people here is you can build these yourself. They're not very hard. They're just a prompt. There's just some instructions, and I think power really comes when you're adding those things on top of it. Funny, you spoke about this, because this morning I was in a conversation. I'm in this amazing AI community that I can't speak of. That is secret, apparently.
A secret one. Wait a minute. Are we going to get an exclusive here, Tim? Are you going to share with us an exclusive?
Yeah, well, I can't say the name and who's in there, but I was invited to this, and it's one of my proudest communities I think I've ever been in. And it's
a secret, of course.
And this morning there was this conversation, and they did a survey about asking about what's the value of GPTs and would you pay for them, and a lot of a bit more technical people, I believe, they're like, no, I wouldn't pay a dime for it, because you can do anything that a GPT does yourself with GPT-4o, as long as you're not adding these native to you systems and frameworks and documents and knowledge. If you're not adding any of that stuff, then you should not be paying for a GPT, because then GPTs are just a little part of a ChatGPT with an instruction that you keep clicking on. That's it.
Well, what's interesting is, so when I was in the Explore GPT section, I was not afraid to pay for something, all right? Because I just wanted to also learn, how do you do it? So what was the experience? So this one was an assistant for looking for a job. And I was like, this is interesting. Okay, how does it work? So it costs $5. It's a one-time fee of $5. And I was sitting next to somebody, they were like, are you going to do it? And I'm like, why not? Like, it's $5. I'll try it out. And it had a Stripe integration. and it was so slick. You just give it your email address, and because I've used Stripe on so many websites, it just it popped in my Google Pay, and boom, I mean, it was a one click and done. I didn't have to enter a credit card information. It was so seamless, and it was right through the GPT. I was so blown away how simple it was to use and do. Now, that was my first time ever buying anything through a GPT. And, to your point, I think the value is the experience. And, just like if you're booking travel, there's a lot of websites to go to, right? And booking travel is cumbersome. It's not fun to look for the lowest prices. It feels like a part-time job sometimes, especially if you're planning for multiple people. And I would actually pay a bot to do it for me. Let's say if I was planning an event or a wedding and I said to my entire group, hey, use this bot, and that way we'll all be booked at the same speed at the same time or what have you. And it was just incredible to me that you can build these bots pretty simple, and then it's very easy to add them to the store once you feel like you've got it down. Don't you think that is really the edge, is the experience itself? Isn't that going back to your original, your prompt engineering skills, your ability to create the best experience, those people who have that talent are the ones who are going to reap the biggest rewards. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So
yeah, please do.
Why I'm gonna say, I think yes, for anyone that is not interested in actually building it themselves or doing it themselves, right? But because I'm very curious, I don't think I'm gonna pay for that kind of stuff. I wouldn't pay for a GPT, but I pay for maybe 25, 30 other AI tools, by the way, that does really good stuff.
Sure.
But if I was going to book travel, I'd do it from Gemini Ultra, because I know that they're going to have a better integration with the Google search, and it's going to be better for Google flights, Google hotels, and all that kind of stuff. And Gemini Ultra is becoming more a reality and stuff like that. So I think that they're all going to have their speciality. If you're doing some research project, you want to do it on Perplexity. You don't want to do it on ChatGPT. You don't want to do it on Gemini. If I'm going to go through my Gmails and stuff, I'm going to still use Gemini. I'm not going to use ChatGPT, So I think they all have different use cases. So I do believe that these GPTs and in this secret community, what they said, these GPTs was actually Sam Altman's playground to see what use cases people use and why they don't use it, to understand and really research more, right? And that's really what the GPT explore the GPT directory, right, is, in my opinion, as well. And it's okay, let's see what are the most popular GPTs, and then learn from it and make sure that the ChatGPT itself, GPT-4 or GPT-5, GPT-4.5 or GPT-5 that's going to come soon, is going to do that better than a GPT. So I don't think it's a sustainable model to charge for GPTs, but you could have amazing GPTs for free, and then you can kind of advertise your own services of AI consultancy, or hey, let me build GPTs for your company specifics, right, and earn money from there. Because building GPTs specific for company use, that's awesome, because you're going to add knowledge documents, you're going to add some actions, so you're going to add some automation and stuff like that. I think that's going to be where the money is going to be more. And yes, the people who can build these things are going to make the money. But if you go on the GPT library, and the top GPTs, one was, I think, a SEO article writer. I was able to see the instructions. It was just 4 lines and some advertisement. It's actually not even the GPT, right? It's just the power is GPT-4, GPT-4o, and it's just a tiny bit of instruction. And then people are like, wow, this did a blog post for me. Well, yeah, if you say yourself, hey, can you write me a blog post? You're the best at blah, 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 blah. You say all these things, you're going to get the same output, potentially even better.
So you're recommending to use that GPT or not?
Well, I'm not. But if you're in your early stage of GPTs, yes, you use whatever GPT you find and test them and see what they respond and what the problems are and so on. But I've done a lot of GPT building workshops for companies, and when I do this, people's mind gets blown off, because they're like, wow, and it's not that difficult. It's a bit of curiosity, a bit of prompt engineering, a bit of speaking to the machines, and then putting that into thing, and then thinking about what else could I add to make this really cool and really good? Oh, well, I had a framework about how we do our blog articles, and I think as a company it works really well. I'm sure it works more for more B2B companies. Let me add that as a document. What if this integrated into a search? And okay, I could write a tiny bit of OpenAI schema to the actions, and you can use ChatGPT itself. And actually, ChatGPT has a GPT called Actions GPT, which helps you build actions, so you don't even have to code. You just talk to it; it builds you the thing, and then you can tap into data that is outside. You can tap into the weather report and stuff like that. So you can do all this yourself. And to be honest, it's not going to take you days. It's going to take you an hour, a couple hours.
Right.
It's just curiosity.
Right. What would you just say is the difference between using Gemini versus like a ChatGPT? Like you said that I would use one thing over another for different use cases. What are the big differences between the Gemini and ChatGPT?
Can I compare some other ones?
Absolutely. Feel free.
Awesome. So Gemini, I think Gemini is going really on context windows. So they have a 1.5 Ultra now, a Pro or whatever they call it, a massive million tokens context window. I think it's about 500 pages or something like that, or they were saying a couple of Harry Potter books or whatever. And now they're coming with the 2 million token context. So that's going to be even like maybe the whole Harry Potter series that you can feed into, right? And then talk to it. So I think Gemini is going really on these big context windows, which is awesome. And I think that really where Gemini lies is because Google, where most of us have Google Suites, right? We have the Drive, we have the Google Docs, we have Google Sheets, we have all that. So the power is tapping into those things because it's natively integrated. I know that ChatGPT just came with the Google Drive integration, but I don't think it's the same. You still have to click the button and find it and upload it and stuff like that. But with Gemini, you're basically able to say, hey, I had these documents, where are they? Well, they're here. Oh, okay, can you tell me what you learned from these top 10 documents? And it just tells you that. You can say, hey, what was my email today? What's the important one? Can you draft an answer to that? Right, that's so simple, right? Because it's going to be integrated with everything we do with Google. So I think that's where Gemini is going to be. And Perplexity, as I mentioned, if you're researching anything and you want actual sources and you want to make sure that they're real, then you're going to use Perplexity. That's where they're going. They're going on, academic research, proper strong paperwork type of thing. So they're good at that. Anthropic, which Amazon is the biggest investor behind Anthropic, and they're going for a massive investment again, I think. You want to go to Anthropic to make things a bit more conversational. It's really more fun at writing content that sounds okay, stuff like that. It also has a high context window, so it's good at putting documents and asking questions. But I'm going to say how it is, and I feel that they all suck at brainstorming, and that's where ChatGPT and GPT-4 comes. I think that is so much smarter. You can't say smarter because it's not. It's actually a completion program. Like, it just completes what you're writing, or the words and the tokens, right? So I can't say it's smart, but it's so well trained on so much data that is quite diverse in the business world that it's your go-to, it's your Swiss Army knife on large language models, right? You can just do whatever you want with it. So I go to ChatGPT for everything. And then I'm like, okay, maybe I could do that a bit more with Gemini, or I could do that with Perplexity, or I can do it with Anthropic, right? And us in these type of, communities of secret AI people, we say you should use all of them a little bit, because you want to know what they're good at, what they're not good at, and so on, and get the best of all the worlds.
Where do people go, through TaskDrive, to find more information about starting with ChatGPT, and then how to use the other AI tools that you talked about? Where should they go?
Yeah, our website, we have a blog. We blog quite often about these type of topics. We have a newsletter. If you sign up for the TaskDrive newsletter, you get a PDF with about 100 prompts as well that you can test for marketing and sales. I think for marketing at the moment, we're supposed to add another one for sales. So that's really focused on marketing and sales and VAs and making them much more efficient. But if you want to learn as an entrepreneur yourself and solopreneur or a team member of a company and stuff, I recommend the things that I'm posting, because I'm also posting everything that I'm learning as a CEO. It's my first time as a CEO role for the last year, a couple months or so, and I'm sharing everything I know, and how I'm doing my job and what helped me, which tools, what am I reading, what really changed my week and stuff like that. So I'm happy to share, and if you have any questions, I'm usually quite reachable on LinkedIn. It takes a bit of time on LinkedIn, but if not, you can also email me at tim@taskdrive.com.
tim@taskdrive.com. Awesome.
Suddenly I'm going to get thousands of emails, then it's going to take a bit of time, guys.
Unless you automate the responses, right?
I can automate the response, absolutely. I've been playing a lot around the automations of emails. I don't think it's there yet, because there's so many things that I want to say that AI won't say it.
Sure.
But I do use Superhuman. It's an amazing email tool, and I have lots of snippets. I have AI there. It knows the past 30 day emails that I've done, so it sounds like me. And instead of doing an email in 15 minutes, I do it in a minute. So that's fine. I still can handle that for now.
Sure. Awesome. ChatGPT, I think this is a great time for us to do the rapid fire. And this is a fun segment that we have where ChatGPT will ask you a bunch of questions, and Tim, your job is to answer them short and sweet. All right. So ChatGPT just keeps firing them, and you just give 1 or 2 word answers. And this is our chance to have a little bit of fun on the show.
Yep. There's four questions here. First one, what's your favorite AI-related movie or book?
The Creator.
Awesome. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
I agree.
Cappuccino.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Awesome. Last one is one word that describes your vision for the future of AI.
AI and humans together in peace.
Wait a minute. It was one word.
Okay. One word. Peace.
All right. Awesome. Well, Tim, we're getting to the end of our show. Is there any other ways that people can connect with you? That you mentioned on LinkedIn was a great way, and you gave your email address just not too long ago. Is there anything else that you want to plug or talk about before as we're wrapping up here to make sure that people can get connected?
Yeah, I'm very focused on my newsletter. It's every Wednesday on your inbox. It's free. I'm never going to charge for it, or if I charge, it'll be another thing, but it's not for this one. It's always going to stay very valuable. You can find that on my feature section on LinkedIn, and then you can just sign up for it. And you'll get a welcome email as well, and it has a guide, which is a long PDF of 30 or plus pages about ChatGPT for entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. And I have to say, full disclosure, I really did enjoy working with your virtual assistants to set you up, and set up this podcast. That was very seamless. That was a great group of people. And I can't say enough good things about you and your company and what you guys are doing, because that's exactly how you and I met, was through all of your good work with your team. So kudos to you. And if anybody wants to check that out, again, go on his LinkedIn or go to taskdrive.com, learn more and find more, because I can say from firsthand experience how much I really enjoyed working with everybody. And I thought they did an exceptional job setting this interview up and making things come to life here. For anybody else listening or watching, definitely go to our socials. On Instagram, it's askClever. On Facebook, it's also askClever. On TikTok, we're askClever-Over-Coffee-Podcast. And also on YouTube, we're at askClever-Over-Coffee-Podcast. And so get connected, subscribe, like, follow. We love all the comments that people have been giving us and all the feedback that we've been having, especially on the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You guys are great. So thank you. Keep giving us the love. And also, if you guys do have questions or follow-up questions, please reach out any one of those formats and let us know. Well, this is our time here from Minneapolis. Thank you to Divine Fox Productions and their studios for hosting us yet again. And we look forward to learning more about AI, and we're all in this together. Thank you.